I know you got to rest. You got some rest coming up as we're getting ready for college football to kick off. We're there, but we're not there. They're into fall camp, so not a lot going on. We've been out to, me and Kevin have been out to some practices. The men's basketball team for IU are down in the Bahamas on kind of I'm calling it a secret scrimmage kind of a deal. Where they're not allowing 2 minutes of video is the max we're going to get to cover. There's no TV, no radio. That's kind of unusual for a school to go on a trip like this and to not allow hardly any media coverage outside like that. But obviously, Mike Whitson wants to see what he has against these teams before everybody else sees what he has.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's any value to that, to be honest with you. Kentucky has turned it into a recruiting tool by getting ESPN to put theirs on television. They went to the Bahamas several years back, and I can't remember which iteration of Kentucky did that, but they put every game that they played down there on TV. Others have used streaming to put it on their own website or something like that. I'm not sure if there is any value in Indiana not allowing you to see what their team looks like. In the end, we're going to see it sooner or later. Seeing it in an advanced version, that's up to them. But I don't see any value in it, really. I've covered college athletics for 40 years, and the teams that are the most secretive are the ones that end up with the most problems. So I think Indiana would be better served to show its fans, here's something to get excited about. New coach, bunch of new players, new attitude. I think the sooner that you can get out there that you've changed this, the better you can do with in September and October trying to recruit the next group of Hoosiers, because you are going to need some. You've got a number of players. Remember, a number of players on this team that are in their last year. Either by the circumstances or by the likelihood that they're going to move on. So I think that it would be better from my standpoint. And like I said, it's not for me because I cover 355 teams, and if one doesn't want to put its games on the internet, that's fine. It's more for the fans of the Hoosiers and for the people who cover them to communicate to the fans of the Hoosiers.
Mike, you couldn't talk the Big Ten Network into going down there and doing a little,
Well, that would have been nice. That would have been a nice little side gig. I've been to that area, and it is really, really, really beautiful.
I covered that tournament in the ball. It's in the ballroom, that tournament in there, and the shooting is. I covered when Florida was there. Hey, I'm curious about your thoughts about the Trace and Race. I mean, they're back. Did they start again this year? Do you see them going forward? Well, what do you think serves them better?
Well, I think that one thing that I was sure of with last year's team was that you couldn't play Trace and Race together if you didn't surround them with three shooters. Now you can. So you can do it under those circumstances. You can play Trace and Race together if you have shooting to stretch the floor. Last year, you didn't have it. You didn't have anybody that was consistent enough to draw the defense away from the lane and allow those two guys to operate. I think you'll see more from Trace playing away from the basket. I don't think he came back to Indiana to get 30 post touches a game. I mean, we already know he can do that. And there will be times when you say, okay, we got to win this game. So get him down there and get us a bucket or get him fouled. Okay. But he's got to, for this year to be valuable to him, he's got to play away from the basket more. And for him to be able to play away from the basket more, obviously he's going to have to work really hard to improve that aspect of his game. But his skill level says that he can. It's just, do you do the work? I don't doubt that he will. But until you see it done, you can't be sure. But I know a year ago, I said the exact same thing about Ayo Dosunmu, that if he wasn't going to come back to college to become a 40% three-point shooter, then he shouldn't bother. It'd be a waste of his year. And instead, he came back and became a 40% three-point shooter, became a first-team All-American and a Big Ten champion. So, all of that goes into what they're able to do. But I think ideally, that's what you'll see, that you'll see 3 guards, probably not as small as last year's. Trace playing away from the bucket a little bit more, but in the post when they need it, and Race providing that defensive presence and rebounding. Maybe devoting himself a little bit more to making sure that he's in position to rebound Trace's misses. The few shots he misses, I think they need to do a better job of getting Race in position to get those.
Yeah, one of the things that Brian Walsh was on with us last week and talked about how they're trying to get everything really up tempo and using people like Race Thompson to start the offense instead of him just pulling down a rebound and looking for a guard to get it to, get up the floor with the ball and start the offense. So they're really looking at making changes with everybody, and Trace talked about it being as positionless as possible, that they're really trying to integrate that. And you have to do, if you're going to have that much up tempo, you have to have people that like Kevin Durant, who is a freak athlete. But the dude, he's the Magic Johnson of his era, but maybe better, obviously, probably better. I don't know if I can say that or not, but just those athletes those guys are hard to come by, granted, but
but if you watch the Olympics, you saw Bam Adebayo, especially in the championship game against France. You saw Bam bringing the ball up the floor. You saw Draymond bringing the ball up the floor. Those guys are getting better and better at advancing the basketball, at learning how to use the ball. And again, for Race's future, whether it's in the NBA or internationally, he's got to be able to do those things. So it's good that Mike is encouraging him to do that. Now in doing that, you have to be aware of small defenders out there. The next Xavier Simpson, whoever it might be, from attacking that, you have to be aware of it. But I do think that that's a really wise decision to go in that area rather than always have to wait for a guard and spend 3-4 seconds of a shot clock, looking for that player. And on occasion, not rare occasions, but still, you're losing the ball because you're trying to force it to him and he's trying to get open and then you throw it the wrong way. We've all seen a few of those happen. So, you might lose the ball just as few times if Trace or Race were to bring it up themselves.